With the launch of Nord Stream international gas line construction at the orders of the Russian government, a new administrative entity was created, the Navontzu region. Located between Leningrad, Karelia, Finland and the Gulf of Finland from the south. Although being one of the smallest regions, both in territory and population, this administrative division became a gateway to Europe and obtained the status of Special Economic Zone, aimed at active international partnerships and ensuring the safety of international investments. Tax-exempt, accumulation of cutting-edge business practices and the attention of the authorities were meant to make the Navontzu region a very attractive place for joint ventures. Essentially, the project of this Special Economic Zone became the next Skolkovo, a high-technology business area at the most high-ski district in Moscow, though not in science, but in the financial and economic sector. The life of the region was centred around two compact but highly modernised cities built over a very short time: Tarkov, along the E18 International Highway, and Navontzu, along Highway A123. Tarkov was intended to become a financial and industrial centre and was built with various transportation routes, railroads, a seaport, and convenient road junctions. Navontzu, on the other hand, mostly hosted executive headquarters and government officials of the Special Economic Zone. Both cities were connected with a comfortably placed speedway bridge that connected the bank of one of the Gulf of Finland inlets. 2 years ago, Tarkov became the scene of an international scandal centred around the operational activities of a local branch of the large transatlantic corporation Terra Group, called Terra Group Labs. It was conducting its illegal activities under the guise of official contracts with regional government in agriculture and mining industry sectors. Investigations have uncovered numerous shadow transactions and corrupt connections of the Terra Group representatives with local officials and prominent local business executives. Along with several criminal and administrative lawsuits against high-ranking branch executives of Terra Group, the company gained the utmost attention of Russian special services, which had suspected that the research done by Terra Group Labs was intended to disrupt Russian national security and their strategic interests. For instance, the investigation revealed that Terra Group Labs and its proxy companies show a great deal of interest towards the region's territories that previously belonged to the Russian Ministry of Defense and hosted military bases or other areas of special interest. The reason for such attention to former military promises, even today, remains unknown. It is well known now, however, that after a 6-month standoff on the international diplomatic scene, the Terra Group Lab security forces provoked an armed conflict between the Russian Interior Ministry troops and the UN peacekeeping forces that had been newly introduced to the region. This incident led to further escalation of the now overt armed conflict involving peacekeepers, Interior Ministry forces, and the two private military companies. Most likely, this information will never get confirmed, but it is tacitly clear that the Bear Private Military Company was established with the involvement of the authorities, if not on their direct orders, as possibly the only adequate answer to the emerging threat. In the situation of a de facto occupation of the Navontzu region by an international military force, Russia's own police and investigative bodies will lose the ability to command the situation, bowing to pressure from international law and observation groups. The next obvious move for the government would be to declare martial law on the territory. However, since the possible adversaries in this case included some of the leading world powers wielding nuclear weapons, the outcome of an open conflict was as predictable as it was unacceptable. The main parties actively involved in this conflict up to this day remain the same: two private military companies. Firstly, USEC PMC, employed by Terra Group and secretly backed by the UN peacekeeping force, actively interferes with the course of the official investigation into Terra Group's activities. According to the Russian intelligence agencies, the USEC operatives, besides destroying evidence and neutralising witnesses, continue, in direct violation of the court's orders, to carry on with the research on several unknown objects. The Bear PMC operatives, formerly being subcontractors of a regional public organisation, essentially conduct targeted local operations aimed at uncovering and delivering to the authorities of direct and indirect evidence implicating Terra Group of illegal activities. Today, almost 2.5 years since the conflict first emerged, it can be said that the situation looks nothing like a random coincidence of circumstances and bears all the hallmarks of a well-planned and carefully prepared military and political provocation. The question is, however, why? And who would want to provoke Russia to undertake such drastic measures? What is their ultimate goal? In the end, the situation in the region today has come to a rather weird stalemate. The Blue Helmets peacekeeping force is officially stationed at points in the region, but are seldom seen outside of their bases. The land border with Finland and the sea borders remain under Russian border guard control. The border guard is sealed off all the ways leading west. The Gulf is constantly patrolled by the Baltic Fleet. The only airport in Navontzu is inoperable, and its air corridors are covered by anti-air artillery. Land borders are reinforced with interior troops. Thus, both peacekeeping and Terror Group Labs employees guided by their PMC were cut off from the outside world. However, due to the UN presence, Russian authorities are unable to forcefully solve the situation. The only chance for a relatively peaceful solution of the conflict is now in the hands of the Bear PMCs, provided, of course, that they can find and provide to the official government irrefutable proof of a strategic threat from an international corporation. As for the tactical situation in the region, lately there has been a tendency for the engagements between PMC groups to move from the outskirts of Tarkov towards the city centre. If we look at the map of the current operational situation, we can see that the Bear groups slowly but steadily sealing the city perimeter. By conducting a series of operations and blocking the bridge to Navontzu, the Bears have nullified the risk of Terror Group Labs personnel or evidence extraction. Moreover, the Bears have destroyed several warehouses located on the port terminal premises belonging to Terror Group, which stored sealed containers ready for shipping. The contents of these containers is yet unknown to the public. On the opposite side of the city, the Bears have discovered and destroyed a covert communications hub set up on the premises of an old sawmill. Furthermore, it was discovered that Terror Group Labs had also purchased a reserve civil defence station that once belonged to Emacom. According to the latest reports, this area still remains disputed by the PMCs. Overall, if the Bear operatives can keep their momentum, they have a good chance of opening up or even securing one of the key objects mentioned in the investigation materials of the Terror Group case, the former chemical plant number 16. The plant industrial estate was illegally sold to Terror Group Labs as far back as 2009, and investigators were unable to find out the nature of the works conducted there before the armed conflict broke out. Apparently, it was a site of industrial production or laboratories of some kind, which can serve as rock-solid evidence of Terror Group Labs' illegal enterprise on Russian Federation soil. It is possible to destroy digital records, it is possible to eliminate witnesses, but destroying a lab or plant without leaving any clues behind about its purpose whatsoever is kind of hard to imagine. Especially now, when the equipment evacuation is impossible due to the enclosed blockade and sealing of all escape routes. Thus, the situation around the Navontzu armed conflict shows signs of radically changing in the immediate future, and when the investigators, lawyers, and politicians enter the game to replace the gun-wielding fighters, the region can be, at long last, pacified. In the meantime, groups of armed men fight for survival in a place sealed off from the outside world, a place some would say was worse than hell.